2, all right?
1.
Hi everyone, we're live. Welcome to SpeakuP Monday. Round of applause. It's a good studio audience this week. You know what? I always say better than last week, but I don't really mean that. But it's better than last week, really.
Yes,
Last week, awful. So jokes aside, tonight is once a month, here at SpeakuP Monday, we call it the future of health. And it's a panel of experts in that health arena curated by Health Hub Bali, which is the founder sitting next to me, Tracy G, and I'll get her to explain a little bit more about what that is. And tonight is number 5 in our series. So if you are interested, and you should be, to know on the previous 4, check YouTube library. So that's SpeakuP Monday, Robert Ian Bonnick. Just go to SpeakuP Monday, and you'll get to playlist SpeakuP Monday, and go to the future of health, and you'll find the other 4 panels, which the information there, crucially important to understanding what comes next. So tonight we have a panel of different experts, none of which I know personally, which is so good. I love it. New people, this is great. And look, so tonight we're going to be talking about the future of health, as I mentioned before. Tonight we're going to be talking about gut biome and lots of other things that we're going to get into very shortly. But I want to just get on to our guests. So we'll start off by allowing them to give us a quick intro so you can get to know them too. So let's start with you, my brother. So name and a little intro. Yep.
Okay.
Point for you. Wonderful.
My name is Vishal. I'm a trained psychologist from Australia in Perth. Been in Bali now for 3 weeks with my family. We've made the big move, the mammoth move across. We'll be working here at a local clinic in Canggu called Bali Healing, providing consultations, everything mental health, children, adolescents, family, and talking about anxiety, depression, ADHD, autism, so very much my areas of expertise, and happy to be invited. Thank you, Tracy, and amongst some beautiful people, and look forward to today's discussion.
Wonderful, thank you. And by the way, congratulations on I made the move with my family as well about 6 years ago. 2 kids. My wife was born here in Indonesia, but we met in Sydney, and it's a great step that you've made, and I wish you all the best.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks.
very much. Yeah. You can. Yes, you can. Why not? Over to you, Tanya.
Hi, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Tanya Fitzpatrick. I'm a somatic educator, and I'm delighted to be here with some of you guys. And thanks, Tracy, for inviting me. Thanks, Robert, for having us. So what is somatics? Somatic movement is many things to some people and nothing to others. So I'm going to tell you what it is. My line of somatic movement is about neuromuscular reprogramming. In an easier way said, helping you find where you store habitualized tension in your body that distorts your posture, tension that can be coming from anxiety and stress. So we're in good company. And I help you recognize this through movements. I help you understand how you have come to have this posture, and when it becomes problematic that it's causing prolonged stress and muscular aches in your body, I help you to diminish that by retraining your brain to recognize what is painful to what is good. And what do I mean by good? Feeling like you wake up in the morning doing some movements and you've had a 2.5-hour massage. Now, who wouldn't want that? So I've been doing this for 12 years. Previous to this, I have been lecturing around the world as a yoga teacher in embodied anatomy and movement. So I look at movement as a very personalized and individual story, because for every, I call them insults, for every traumatizing thing that's happened to you, breakups, deaths, sexual assault, anything on that trauma level, there's going to be an imprint in your body as well as your mind. And I help you to recognize how that's imprinting in your body, and I help you to change that. So it's been a long road to get to where I am. I've worked with thousands of different people, and I've coached and trained thousands of different people across many continents. I now live in Bali, very, very happily. And the kind of cool thing that about my work is it's hands-off. So it's educational. So it's about you taking responsibility for your health and well-being without any touch. It's all about education and movement. So if you want to know more, tune in, keep listening, because we'll have a little bit more of a discussion on this. Thank
Wonderful, Tanya. Thank you. Thank you very much. And now over to you, Brother Michael. So take the microphone or you hand it to it and tell us a little bit about yourself. Thank you.
All right. I'm Dr. Michael Bishop. I'm from Spinalogic. I've been a chiropractor for 25 years now. So I set up a company here. I've been here for 12 years, actually. So I've been working as a bit closer. Yeah, as a chiropractor here for 12 years. My goal at the moment is to train local physiotherapists how to take on some of the skills I have, because we don't really have an organised university that's graduating people in chiropractic. So I'm trying to bring that to Indonesia, because a lot of people have back problems. And there's a big demand. So over the years, I've seen so many people searching everywhere, all over Indonesia, to try and find somewhere that can help them. So, right now we're located in this area, and also in Denpasar. And we see probably 50% Indonesians and then 50% tourists. So if you don't really understand what a chiropractor does, I'll hold this up. We work on this. So this is our spine, obviously. It's not an elephant's trunk. So very small movements in the spine can start happening from even childbirth. So once you're born, you start to have stress and trauma on you, and we hear about all the different stresses through our life. So I should look at that camera, right? So just a small amount of pressure on one of these nerves will shut down the energy to all our tissues and cells and lead to some sort of dysfunction in our body. But that might affect your gut function. So the reason I got into chiropractic, and after I did my medical degree, was that I had a colonoscope done and it didn't go right, and I ended up in hospital for a year, and they had to remove all my small intestine, which meant that I really had about 6 months to live. So I employed a lot of natural therapies during the time. Even in hospital, I had people chanting over the top of me, doing Reiki and different modalities, and I went to India to try and heal up, and it works, because I'm still here. So I believe very much in integrating medicine and natural therapies together. So particularly because it saved my life, on both sides. So it's a shame that we don't have more cooperation between the medical profession and our natural therapies. Anyway, that's I could talk for hours, actually, about a lot of things.
And Michael gave us artistic license tonight. He said, look, if I keep going, stop me. Or so if we do interrupt and we're not being rude, we have license to do so. But Michael, that was a great introduction. Thank you so much. Really, thank you.
And thanks, Tracy, for inviting me tonight. That's great.
All right, so now you can, Tanya can that. So if I ask you to give the microphone to Tracy. Yeah, so look, now you've heard from our experts, except Tracy, which we'll do in a minute. But tonight, as I mentioned, is about gut health, somatics, mental health, integrative healthcare with a focus on preventative care and radical self-responsibility through curated health journeys. So just going to hear from Tracy now, who's the founder of Health Hub Bali, and she can introduce herself and then give us a little rundown on what Health Hub Bali is, why it exists, and what it's looking to do. And so, I think Tracy will start that, and then we'll go into the last episodes. Oh, you can start with you first.
Okay. My name's Tracy G. I've been here in Bali now for a decade, and working in integrative medicine, functional medicine. I started first in Australia, and it was mainly to connect people to better health, and in response to the amount of, diagnoses in Australia. At that time, there was a lot of cancer and autoimmune. I guess that hasn't stopped either there. But just about people knowing what options and choices were available, it didn't seem to be there. And as the journey's come along the way, we're looking at testing, not going alternate to the CAM, but integrating things. So we start with the medical model where with functional medicine we get the testing, we find out where the blocks are and we undo it. But not just from one level, we're working with gut health, we're working with structure, the spine, the mental health, and any of the genetic issues or infections that people may have.
Wonderful. And look, this one I'll read just so I get it perfectly correct. So now Health Hub Bali, as I mentioned before, it's a platform connecting people to better health. And Health Hub Bali believes everybody deserves a choice when it comes to optimal health. So we created a platform which is science-based that identifies your current state of health and well-being, that curates individualized solutions through our network of trusted health professionals, centers, retreats. So the last 4 episodes that I'll ask Tracy to kind of go through very briefly. Remember, you can watch them live on our YouTube library, and then we'll get into what today is really about. So Tracy, if you can give us just a brief rundown on the last 4 episodes, and this is now number 5.
I'm glad I don't have 300 to run through.
I know. I can talk you through all of the 300 and because this is 301, this episode, so I can talk through the last 300, but I'll save you that for today. Maybe next week.
Right. So we started off with the future of health. What is it? And we had a panel here, once again represented from the gut biome specialists. We had the movement, Ian, and someone, mental health. Someone was working with mental health. But what we just dug down with that one was looking at why there is an issue since we've had the last 50 years of advances in science, yet we have more diseases and more illness than ever. And we started looking at I guess through the world, I messaged as many as I could, and the common response, what was the future of health when you asked me to put something together, was science and preventative model. So we start with the Western and we go Eastern, but we talking about preventing, finding baselines was the second meetup we had. The second meetup we had was on baselines, why baselines matter. We want indicators of what's happening in the individual, and then creating programs for them. And we had a team that talked at that one. The third one was why Bali. We looked at the health tourism and the fact that Bali has got like a space. I'm saying to anybody, if you have a diagnosis, come here, come to Bali. We'll get the testing, and if you've only got 2 months to live, well, why not here? And we've got teams and clinics and pilot programs now that we're working with an evidence-based model to help you heal. The fourth one, we introduced Dr. Gelgel, Professor Gelgel. He's the advisor to the Minister in Health here in Bali, and he's also a forensic toxologist, scientist. Mm.
You did pretty well.
And
Round of
today,
applause, everybody.
And today...
Go on. Yeah.
Today,
that was an emphatic round of applause, everybody. There you go. All right. You know, the tricky part is that so Tracy isn't what you call a natural speaker, right? So then, quite often what you find is that the people which are working behind the scenes. So Tracy's been, for the last 10 years, working on Health Hub Bali, from Australia, I think it started, and has this amazing ability to gather together some of the best minds in the world around medicine and whole health. So that I just want to acknowledge you for, because it's brilliant what you've done. And what this series is really all about is to begin to kind of bring some of these steps home, so people like you, like me, like us, can then begin to take control of our health, right? Instead of all of this, give our health away to a doctor or someone else who we think may know better, let's be more on board with making choices which empower ourselves. And what Health Hub Bali is about is providing an opportunity to make that happen. And so tonight, Tracy, I'm just going to get you to point that microphone right at your mouth. Thank you. Let's get into tonight, and let's start this episode on what are we going to talk about tonight, and how can we bring in these wonderful experts that we have tonight in on this topic.
Okay, so tonight our focus really is on us all as individuals owning our health. from the perspective of practitioners, clinics, centres, hospitals, we're talking patient-centred care. What does that mean? It means about us thinking about them and what they need to know. So how do we communicate that? That's where the raising awareness, the body can heal, it can heal itself, but there are some issues they need the experts' help. So then how can we deliver that? And then that's why we're saying here in Bali we've got the time to do that. And it's a life medicine and creating life centres here in Bali. But the first step is the radical reset. We need to find out that baseline where someone is and start that journey. A lot of it has to do with detoxing, and we're talking detoxing the structure, the blood, the gut, the mental health. So there's a quick step formula in 10 days that we can put programs. We're piloting them at the moment. And then having centres where we can go, say like Dr. Peggy's centre, where Vishal's joining shortly. They're whole health centres, and it's a model of that. And then we've got like someone like an expert, say like Michael, who's got a background with a Nobel Prize winner in gut health, who created the leaky gut model of understanding. So we've got this advice as well that we can draw on. If we don't have it here, we've got them overseas with telemedicine these days. So we want radical resets in a cost-effective, systemic and a sustainable way. The sustainable comes in the follow-up, meaning that we give support. When people go home, there's programs, monthly programs, we can click them into lymphatic, work with some experts. Another one might be working with their blood work at home. Another one might be just working with other type of movements like what Tanya does. But they're all available online, and then we can have programs 3 months later. They can come back for another reset.
And I think one of the things as well that sets this apart from a lot of what's happening here is, you know, the legal backgrounds. We're talking about being legal, legitimate, and we
Incredible.
have incredible, right? Which I think is a challenge maybe for Bali not above, but outside of the wellness. Medical, it's not there yet. And so this health tourism is somewhere in the middle, and Health Hub Bali helps to, using science-backed, helps to bring this together, West meets East. But can you tell us a little bit more? And then we go to our panel. We're waiting very patiently, excuse me. Seven Stones, I believe, are involved, helping to, how are they helping in this?
What's happening there is, this is mainly for those that are working here. It's a bit of an issue to share our knowledge too, and working out a model too that is very complete instead of everyone working separately. So some information we need to know that's trusted and that people can feel safe as practitioners, and we can start having, what do you call it? Interaction.
Yeah. All right, so let's bring our beautiful experts. Been waiting patiently. Thanks for coming from Perth, mate. Very much appreciated. So, Tracy, how would you like to set this off? How would you like to, maybe there's a question or something you'd like to bring light to that emphasises what our panel are doing right now?
Probably say with Vishal, he's working with like autism and ADD. These are big issues because sometimes we don't. It's not. Why do we wait till we get a diagnosis? Like you've got cancer and you've got this short time to live. But we've got mothers. I'm talking right from birth to death. There's a certain way. So each one here, whether it's the way you birth, there's ways to support the body that it can heal. And then, say from Vishal, he's got a strong connection with the gut and the mental health as well. Would you like to share?
Yeah. I think, again, by the way, for everybody here, many of us are in different places. There are some of us who know about this whole topic that maybe tonight we're kind of thinking, well, I want to go a bit deeper, right? There might be some of us here which are saying, I've got no idea what the guy just said. Leaky gut, what is that? Biome, what is that? So what we're aiming to do tonight is to give us an opportunity to fill the gap, right? So there will be an opportunity where each person here has the chance to ask a question, right? And remember, the questions that you ask also guide us in what information that you want to hear, right? So just keep that in mind as you listen, like if there's any questions that come up. In the meantime, we'll do our best to keep it relatable, to keep it down to earth so no one's left behind. All right, so Brother Man, over to you.
Okay, thank you. I think it's a bit of a broad brush, but if I was to start by probably answering the question, in my opinion, what is the future of health? I would say it's continuity of care. And secondly, it's also enabling people to see their body as one. And unfortunately, the medical model has created us to see the body in parts, because that's what it does. It treats the body in parts. It helps one part, but sometimes hurts another part. And the third thing is actually sort of allowing people to be able to make the choice that the Eastern medicine can be a top 3 choice in terms of treatment options. It doesn't have to be the last, the last resort where you've tried everything and then suddenly now you're going to the East to try and find this miracle cure. So I think the miracle cure is in the top 3, and it's not a miracle cure. It's not even a cure. It's just an option. So I think those 3 things in combination leads me to believe that, the mindset towards health, we're still behind the 8 ball, because we are bullied into a medical model and a mass-trained army of doctors who will clearly advocate for that. And I think post-COVID, I think from my perspective, what did I see in the West? I saw a number of my own patients, and I saw a number of patients wanting to know more about how do plants, how does the earth, and how does the environment help us get better. And because people were looking for other answers, and they were almost pushed into looking for answers for themselves. So I think the future of health is, the environment, the herbs, and it's also just a mindset. So in terms of where I took my own psychology practice, is that I saw an opportunity where I could start talking to my patients, particularly because they showed an area of interest in terms of, well, if I fix my mind, what happens to my body? Well, I said they're linked. So I can't say to you now, go and do breathing exercises while you're eating McDonald's every day, because that's just not going to work. Or I can't say to you, okay, well, go and hang out with your best friends if they're drinking copious amounts of alcohol. So for me, it's, you've got to be able to sort of have a balance. And I guess, I'm not in the business of making people give up things that they enjoy, but it's about living a balanced life for as long as possible. We don't want to be on this earth forever. I certainly don't want to, but I want to be living on this earth as healthy as possible for as long as I can. And what do I need to do that? I've got to look after my mind, I've got to look after my body, and I've got to look after my relationships. And those 3 things for me are the most important things in terms of the future of health. How do we create a place where people can actually go and feel connected in terms of, if I help my mind, if I help my body, I'm going to help my relationships, vice versa, and they all feed into each other, creating a model that actually leverages off each development or progress. So for me, it's actually very much looking at the body as a whole, and never stop looking look at the body as a whole.
Trace, some feedback for that. Thank you, brother. Any feedback on that?
Yeah,
Voice.
it's it's whole health. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. So to you, Tanya, and with you, what I also love, because we have a great audience here and people watching as well, it'd be really nice, I'm sure everyone here can talk for a long time. I know you can, Michael, as you've said, but it'd be nice for people to get a takeaway, something that they can take home with them. I'm not saying oversimplify something, but something they can take with them and saying, hey, this is something which I can do tomorrow, today, to implement that will help me to live a better life, to take control of my health. So in relation to answering the question, as Vishal just did, would be nice if you could infuse something like that as well.
A takeaway that really you can understand is a very, very simple thing. So I'm going to stand up if I may.
Please.
What I'd like you to do, if you'd all join me, can you all stand up, please?
Yep. Everyone stand up.
It's a bit crap that we sit down all day long. How many hours do you reckon you sit? Now multiply that by 7 days. Multiply that by 52 weeks. Multiply that by however old you are. And then you come to somebody like Michael and expect him to fix you. No, the answer is you. You have to start understanding what you're doing to your body and give this man a break. And then give me a break, because I'm not going to fix you either. The answer is, the takeaway is, look how you are leading your life. Hours and hours of sitting is going to break your body in two. We are getting more sick by sitting down. So the deal is, can you imagine crushing a ball of squidginess for the length of time you're sitting? That's your gut. So as you sit and crush your gut and crush your spine forwards and tap, 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 tap all day long, multiply that by the age you are and when you put a keyboard in front of you. So what I'm going to ask you is, do yourself a favor and write down how many hours a day you sit. And then ask yourself, what do you do in the time that you stand up? Are you walking towards sitting? I bet you are. And then I'm going to ask you to check how many times in your standing are you on a mobile phone or some sort of tablet, and what your posture is like. Because one of the things that I've got, a couple of younger members in the audience, your posture's shocking. You're going backwards. Like, we came from evolution of dragging our knuckles on the ground. Everybody's going backwards. We're getting grays on our knuckles because we're literally hunched over. So I want you to understand, A, how long you're sitting in your day, check it out, and try to put 2 minutes in between an hour of standing up and doing a little bit of movement, whatever that means to you. Sounding, shaking, having a little giggle, just something. But actually move your spine, and preferably try to move it a little bit backwards. Because what happens is, when you all go to the gym, you're still doing the forwards thing. When you're practicing your vinyasa yoga, you're still doing the forwards thing. And what do I mean the forwards thing? This. And so what we do when we're older and we say, oh, well, your spine is not correctable anymore, we put a walker. So you're going to go more forwards. It's not the answer. I want all the walkers, for all the people that are building these things, to go behind. So the person has to hold the walker doing this. Be a fabulous idea. So I think really sitting, you need to understand that you are responsible for how your body is today. One more thing, you have 2 feet. And in your feet, you have a heel, 2 heels, and 2 balls of the feet. Can you position your weight in between your right foot and your left foot? Between the right ball and the left ball, the right heel and the left heel. You've just hit center. Welcome to your new spine.
Very nice. Woo. A few people here don't want to sit down. They're like, you know what? I am never sitting down again. I am done with sitting.
Awesome.
We haven't started about lying yet. So, if I'm not going to sit, then no way I'm going to lie. You can lie, people. Okay? That was wonderful, Tanya. It's funny because the questions don't come from, they come through. And I wasn't expecting that. I was like, I wonder how Tanya's going to answer this question. And boom! Love it. Wake everybody up. Love it. Thank you. Thank you. And Vishal, thank you, my brother. Wonderful answer as well. So, Michael,
right.
Again, you don't need to crack anyone's back today. All right? Though a few people here with shocking posture, I think it might be a start. Right? So what comes into your mind, as you said before, in your lane of chiropractic, as perhaps a usable takeaway that people here either hear live or watching can do to help them take more control of their health?
Sure. And I should say ditto, because she pretty much covered what I would be normally talking about. But we see patients on a regular basis. So we put them on a program towards optimal health. So we have to have some sort of objective measure for that. And that's what I think the future of health for all natural health practitioners is, to stay in your lane in a way and know what you're going to correct, and then have some way to measure that outcome. So we use X-rays as a tool that can show the changes in the spine, MRIs if needed. So, and we can do that after 6 months of treatment, and it's also having other objective tools along the way that people can see the changes. So if you're doing the gut biome, then you can do a follow-up test. I was just thinking about what I wear during the day, this little wearable, and it tells me to stand up. That reminds me, it buzzes me. And if I haven't done my 10,000 steps, I jump out and do that. So I think that I've seen a lot of good software. I'm interested in software that can help guide practices along the way to keep us accountable, so that you don't just turn up to somebody and put a lot of money there and invest it, and you don't know where you're going to be heading and what that journey is going to look like. So I think it's really important that we get clear on something that's measurable. That whether you go to an acupuncturist and he says, you've got headaches. Okay, well, that's not a sign of. If you don't have a headache anymore, it's not a sign of health. Okay, so health is defined as 100% function of every living tissue and cell in our body. The absence of symptoms does not mean that you are healthy. So a lot of people walk around and go, yeah, I'm healthy, I don't have anything wrong with me. But then you find out they have diabetes, but they don't have pain. So they're measuring their health based on pain. So we've got to have our patients understand that there's other ways. In India, I spent a year doing treatment there. And I just said, what's the definition of health for you guys? Because I'm not going to stay here forever. I want to know how I'm getting better. And it was quite hard to communicate that. And it was a little bit frustrating for me. And they said, if you sleep well, you poo well, you're healthy, and you're happy. So I think there'd be a way to measure that now these days, that we have tools that are being integrated into medical practices. I go and get vitamin D tests done because I know that is a good measure of overall health and longevity. So, yeah, I'll jump out off there.
Michael, you're doing really well, because earlier on you were saying, stop me if I go too far, but you've been amazing. You've been on point, valuable, straight, very good, usable, very good. Intellect is right there. It's on. So Tracy, coming back to you, and so today again, I love to get audience participation, right? It gives us a good lead into where we want to go. But today we said that we talk about integrative, we talk about preventative, we talk about mental health. So what would you like to cover next?
Probably ask Vishal about mental health. Are you working from CBT? Cognitive behaviour therapy?
So baseline is cognitive behavioural therapy.
So may I just grab the microphone?
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, so baseline is cognitive behavioural therapy, which is basically looking at how a person's thoughts interacts with their emotions and then creates behaviours. So it's pretty simple in that sense. But I guess we've evolved from CBT, and when we're looking at integrative psychology, I call it, we then need to go and look at, okay, what do certain ailments in the body make a person think and feel like? What does a person's nutrition make them think and feel like? And how do they get to make these decisions? So we sort of look at that as a bit more of an enhanced cognitive behavioural therapy approach, where we're looking at the whole again, and we're looking at factors in terms of how a person has got to that place of making decisions about their health, good and bad decisions. So we look at family of origin, we look at genetics, we look at nutrition, and the whole works. And then that gives us a good idea of what we can work with from a psychological sense in terms of what makes sense for the person. So CBT is an underpinning, but obviously integrating all disciplines, and then creating a goal-orientated pathway for a person to achieve realistic goals, whether it's physical, mental, and both combined.
Great. Yeah, we'd like to. You'd like to.
Yeah,
go on to
these
that?
are all samples of what we, before COVID, we started working on as a team of practitioners here, Westerners, when people came with an issue that would decide who could support these people and work together as a team from their perspective. Do you want to share a bit about that?
Yeah, sorry. So one of the things about Health Hub Bali is the aftercare. Often Bali is looked upon as an island of healers, and you're wondering who to go to, and maybe you have a good experience when you come to Bali, but then you go home and everything just falls apart again because you don't have the backup. With Health Hub Bali, this is one of the most important parts, is the backup and the aftercare. So you have a team that is checking with you and checking in with you to see how you are. During COVID, obviously Bali and everywhere else shut down, so it was quite difficult for people to work if there is a hands-on approach or testing needed. But what we worked with is looking with our clients to see, okay, once you got a diagnosis, who in the team can actually work remotely? And so we have quite a large team that we can get the right person into your sitting room via whatever medium and coach you and help you and handhold you, so you know that you're not doing this journey alone, that you have 24/7 backup when you leave. And we found through COVID that really supported people, not just mentally, but in my realm of movement education, and we could help people from anywhere in the world. So it really did work.
Yeah.
And coming back to Bali, why Bali? We've got Dr. Choki, who I've just met, but over the years, meeting doctors who are integrative, who share what's real, what's essential. They've learnt the Western way, but they've got a very strong understanding of whole health, and they're willing to work with that. So our main in Jakarta, or not Jakarta, Purwakarta, in Java, we have a holistic hospital that we work with that has everything, I would say, that Germany has got in their clinics, but in a hospital. So if there are any issues, we've got these doctors to work with. And now I've just learned another doctor here, he's working, specialising now with palliative care. So with what we call the way we birth to the way we die, we can die nicely and birth nicely, and we can create this like optimal life. And the idea is then have centres, when people come here, they can do a discovery, they can do the testing, have adjustments, and join different style of retreats where, like I said, we've been meeting these past weeks talking about pilot programs that we can offer people to upgrade their health. And just after the last 2 years, there's been a lot about detoxing, and with what we start with pathogens in functional medicine, just checking the blood and what's happening functionally on every level, and then creating these retreats, not just to come for a couple of weeks and then go back home, feeling happy and glossy, but it's not sustainable. So when we're saying we want real change, and we use that using the baseline testing first, that we can check what's happening.
Nice. So are we on to Michael now? So we're talking about, so we have three things. And which one you want to chime in on is all good. Preventative, integrative, or what's the other one? Sustainable. Sustainable is good, but preventive, integrative medicine, what comes up for you?
Leaky gut.
Leaky gut, he's been asked about.
All right, yeah. Because who you worked with originally, we'd like to hear about the research years that you did with the doctor who won the Nobel Prize.
Yeah. Well, I worked with a chap by the name of Tom Brody. He discovered the treatment for gut stomach ulcers. So there's a bacteria that was triggering stomach ulcers, Helicobacter pylori. So then he became interested in what other organisms in our body are causing disease and whether we get them from where we're getting them from, where they come from. So he had me doing PCR analysis on every tissue in the body. And it was very interesting and enlightening what we came across in that journey. And then that went on to developing something pretty gross, but fecal transplants, and also some other more advanced treatments with antibiotics, which probably didn't really fit in my paradigm. We were trying to use probiotic treatments and things like that, but a lot of the times we'd make those changes and it just didn't hold. So people would go back into their own patterns. I even do this myself. I go and do a detox, and then I go back to my same eating patterns and my same thinking patterns, and then I'm back to where I was. So I have a pretty delicate gut because I had so much trauma in the past. So I'm always vigilant about what I'm doing with my gut and how I'm eating. So, yeah, I think the things that we're doing now with microbiome, and if you're wondering what that is, that's all these organisms that are in our body. Basically, there's 70 trillion human cells, but there's 700 trillion microbes in our body. So there's more microbes in our body than there is human cells. So if anything, we're more microbe. We maybe should change our names. So I think we'll never understand all the different species and identifying them, but we do know what living closer in accordance to nature is. So we can guide people that way. And as I said, have ways to measure that. You know, like if you're going to try out a new diet, if it's working and you see some changes in your health, something measurable, your sleep patterns are improved, your cardiovascular fitness is improved. These are really valuable things that people need to understand as a patient, because otherwise you're going, are you feeling better? And they go, yeah. But then they go back to their old habits because they really don't have any benchmark to know, okay, this is my baseline. When I leave Bali, I'm going to go back and maybe I'm going to get hit by all the stresses of my life. I need something that's going to just keep me understanding that if I'm veering off track. So a lot of people come to us on holidays because they know they get a chance to get the pressure of life off them, their jobs, their stresses, family, and everything like that. So they get a better outcome anyway. Tracy said, it's so much easier in Bali. So that's why wellness tourism, this should be the Mecca, because it's such a hub for healing. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. And Tanya, I didn't neglect you, but so it's up to you. So we have three. One is mental health. That was the last one. Mental health, preventative, and integrative. Is there anyone that you would like to comment on? Then after that, people in the audience here, if you have a question, please think about what that is, and we'll take that third mic, this one here, afterwards, and then we'll put it out to the audience. So if you have a question, feel free to ask, or observation as well. I know you do. Tirisula, my brother, I know you do. Tanya, over to you.
I'd like to talk about integrative health and pick up something that Vish said. For every mental reaction, there's a corresponding physical reaction. And one of the lovely quotes I use, I'm Irish, and James Joyce is a very famous Irish writer. And his book, The Dubliners, there's a quote, Mr. Duffy lived a short distance from his body. And so I believe that you can't look at the mind and the body as separately or look at body parts separately. This is an outdated and an old school way, and it doesn't actually do anybody any good, to be quite honest with you, because people have this idea that their shoulder is just their shoulder pain. Well, it's actually not. It's generally coming about 99% of the time from somewhere else. And so understanding your body as a whole, for every negative thought you have, where is that coming? And where is it going in your body? Because there's going to be a bodily reaction. So when you have back pain, is it actually coming from the fact that you're in an emotional trauma situation, that there is a huge amount of stress maybe with your family, and that we're looking at the emotional sides of things. So we look at you as a whole person. So if you're going to eat sugar all day long and you're wondering why you have psoriasis, it's not just because you live maybe in a city that doesn't have clean air. It's probably because you're eating a ton of sugar. So there has to be also a responsibility for you to understand that you're looking at your life and saying, I have this, and this problems. Because in London, where I used to live, you have about generally 10 minutes with a general doctor to tell them what your problems are. There's no way a doctor can tell you or help you in 10 minutes. And so they're going to write generally a prescription as a Band-Aid. But if you went to somebody that can give you time, like any of us, and looking at a real diagnosis that, I think, Tracy, yours is 15 pages long, the actual entry form, that we go through everything about you. This is real, because it's only you knows your story. And when you can tell us, then we can help you. But if you can just tell a doctor that will give you 10 minutes of their time and give you a prescription, it's Band-Aid. It'll never go to root cause. Therefore, you will always have something wrong with you because you're not going to root. And when you recognize what the root cause is, then we can start talking about integrative healing and long-term sustainable healing.
Wonderful, wonderful. And look, so just something which comes up quickly is, so as Tracy said, I think last month we had Professor Gelgel, right? Amazing guy. If you're watching this, you should be here watching. There you go. Amazing. So as Tracy mentioned, he's the advisor to the governor of Bali for traditional Balinese medicine and traditional Balinese wellness, right? And one of the things that he mentioned, just picking up upon what you just said, and again, you know, I've been living in Bali here for 6 years. Many people here know me as the Tri Hita Karana guy because I can't stop talking about it. If you don't know what it is, I'll tell you another time. Not tonight, not tonight. But I found that Bali has this amazing depth of wisdom and knowledge that we can learn from and take forward in our lives to take some control of our health. But again, he was majoring in toxicology, right? So he's got that science-based background. So beautiful way that he fuses both together. And we have an eminent colleague here who you might hear from later on who's doing the same thing. But one of the things he mentioned was that, you know, one of the most important part of it was about your thoughts. You know, you remember that one? You know, which took me by surprise. I was expecting something else. He said, well, actually, this is a major contributor to what happens in your body. You know, and so we think thoughts become flesh, and you know, and so on. So I think it's critical. And as you mentioned before about this integrative, this preventative model that encapsulates all of this through this, you know, creating health journeys, individualized health journeys with this allied network of health professionals here in Bali. It gives that person an opportunity to really own their own health, right? So we don't want this to be a talk fest, everybody. So you will have a chance now. So you, who's sitting over there, just popped up. If you can take this third microphone from Sister Tanya, and Trisula, just in the front here, has a question. So if you come and grab this mic. And just while we're doing that, just want you to think that you in the audience here might be in one of 2 or 3 places, right? You might think, hey, you know, I can't answer that question because, you know, they've probably covered it before, and like, I don't want to sound dumb, being honest, right? You might be in that position. You might be in a position where it's like, I've definitely got a question to ask and I want to ask it. Or you might be in a position which is like, well, I'm kind of not sure if I want to ask it or not. If you have the courage to ask the question, you're not only doing yourself a service, you're doing those around you who perhaps want to ask that question, but don't have the courage right now to do so. So please, if you have a question after this, raise your hand. We'll get the microphone to you and feel free to ask your question. Thank you. Trisula. We just check the mics on first, so just wait. Yeah. Guzman, we on?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Trisula. I'm Balinese. So I have very simple question. I'm addressing to Michael. Okay, Michael, I heard about the chiropractic, okay, from years ago, but honestly, I'm not really know is more detail about it. I'm just curious about the how basically it worked, because when we're talking about the, let's say, acupuncture, then the way you work is just you do manipulating the energy center in your body through your acupoint, for example. But what about the chiropractic, its work? Because in Bali, we have, of course, this Bali massage we have in here. So I'm just curious, but is there any about the history of chiropractic, how it start? So I'm curious about it. Thank you.
Okay.
Point that towards Mike.
Yep. Way back in 1895, a medical doctor by the name of D.D. Palmer, was watching his janitor in his building where he practiced, and he noticed that his head was tilted to the side, and he was completely deaf. So he was a taxidermist also, and he was interested in the structure of every animal and looking at bones. And he thought to himself, wonder what would happen if I just made his head straight, just pushed it, and just... And anyway, so he got the janitor and so just laid down and just went whack on the side of his head. And he'd been stone deaf all his life. And then suddenly his hearing came back. So suddenly chiropractic wasn't invented. There was a cure for deafness, supposedly. So he had thousands of people lining up that were deaf for different reasons. But then that's the evolution of where chiropractic science developed, because it seemed like it was a little bit quackery at the time, and then it was integrated into universities. And, well, the difference, I guess, with if you understand the nervous system and where these exits come out here, it only takes the weight of a coin on this, the weight of a rupiah to shut down this part. Out here, I can sleep on my arm all night and it'll come out tingling. It'll shut down some major power line to, for example, your heart. So you might have a irregular beat. You might have digestive problems because things aren't firing in your body with the right nerve energy. And that's the difference, is that we're just always trying to develop better tools to find out where this person's movement away from health is. So for sure, there's people with other health challenges. So there's mental, physical, and chemical reasons why this body may go out of position. As I mentioned, this guy obviously had this happen since birth. So he had a traumatic birth. These days kids are born with the zipper. They pull them out with a zipper and zip them back up. But previously, a lot of kids had a lot of trauma with forceps delivery, and their necks have been never in the right position from that age. So we get criticized for checking babies sometimes, because why would you check a baby? They're perfect. But that's when it starts. And we call it a subluxation. It's just a small misalignment pushing pressure down onto the nervous system. But that's what I'd like to teach as many people as I can how to... This is how it started too, because this medical doctor started Palmer College. And he just said to anybody that wanted to come and learn chiropractic that they could just come along and do it for free. And the profession grew from there. He just did it from the heart. So we just need that to happen in Indonesia, some form of formal training program to get it up and running. And then, there's so many people, back people. I see this old lady every day that she's pushing along her bike. Everybody's probably seen her in Bali. She has her bike and she just uses that as her kind of walker. You've seen her, have you? She's been doing it for years. She just leans over the bike and obviously something happened in her back, never treated, and it's just been going on forever. I know the traditional healers do a great job, but how do they know when they've done a good job and things like that? X-rays would be safer. So that's why the difference is it's this area here, we're very good at unlocking those bones now. And we have a technique that works. So, there's thousands of patients, yeah. So I'd love, you're welcome to come down and try us out. And, everybody will get a discount, 50% if you want to come along, okay? Because you came and listened tonight, you made an effort for your health, okay? Anyway, I won't take the show.
That's a great question, great answer. By the way, has anyone else got a question? Please raise your hand. And what I noticed since Tanya spoke, I had to say, everybody's posture has suddenly gotten better. Have you noticed? Before, everyone's like, oh, yeah, mate, you're all right, you know? Then I see after, everyone's like, including myself, I'm like, hey, I reckon I got a bit of a subluxation happening right there. I think brilliant. So it's amazing how, one reminder can set you on a different course. So there's this thing about a circle, right? And you have this point in the middle, and you draw a straight line to the circumference. And this is the thing about anything, actually, when you make a change. So at source, the middle of that circle, if you make 5 degree, 1 degree, 10 degree, 15 degree, even 2 degree, once you draw that line and you extend it out, depending how far away the circumference is, the change can be this or it can be this. But it starts with a small insight, something like that, So now when I look at the audience and I see some people like, oh, I see them recorrecting themselves, oh, it starts like that, right? So what you were saying is phenomenal, because that question I sort of wondered about as well, not tonight, but before, like, where does it actually come from? And I must admit, can you imagine now if someone did that? Whack! It'd be like, right, police station, assault charges, come with me. But incredible how things start. Just, again, at source, something happens, and you set yourself on a completely different course, which is a course to a much better outcome. So phenomenal. So any more questions? Yes, over here. So Ayu or Guzman, Ayu's there. She's taking the time off. You're good. So you go under? Yeah, wonderful. And we go through. Thank you. Mikal, yeah, over to you.
Sitting down.
1 second. So you're going to let the sound up? Yeah, you're on.
Yeah? Okay. So to this topic of sitting down, and thank you for the demonstration. It was amazing. Now I kind of can't stop thinking about it. And I feel kind of wrecked because I probably sit down 16 hours a day or more. So what can I actually do other than correcting my posture and other than changing my job, which I'm probably not going to do? It would be nice if I could just go and work in a rice field instead of working on my laptop. Probably not going to happen. So what can I do actually?
Learn about 2 of the most important bones in your body that relate to sitting. Can you hold that?
So you hold the microphone to her mouth, Michael. Yeah.
These are called your sit bones. Fill in the rest. They're your feet. When you're sitting, these are your feet in the chair. Do you all want to find your sit bones? Okay, so pull yourself away from the back of the chair and take your bum flesh or your glute muscles out of the way and have a wiggle. Can you feel something bony underneath you? They're these. So they're designed to take your weight. And then the next thing you got to do is remember that you have a rib cage. And your rib cage, there's many heavy organs in there. And so if you align your rib cage over your sit bones, and then the icing on the cherry is your skull on top of your rib cage. So if you imagine that you have 3 balls. One ball is your pelvis with the apex or the weight bearing going through the right and the left sit bone. The second ball is your rib cage, and the third ball is your head. Try to learn how to sit with those 3 balls balanced on top of each other, and do not go towards a laptop. Let the laptop come towards you. So get stands and have your laptop screen directly in your eye line, not anybody else's, and then have an independent keyboard. And you can sit for 2 hours and then get up.
I have all of that, and my back still hurts.
Come and
Go
see
see
me.
Michael.
Okay.
50% off. Sorry, I had to do it. Sorry.
I,
Sorry. But
I
it's
have
true.
a probably a controversial idea. Because I see everybody sitting at these days.
It can't be more controversial than slapping the guy in the head. Sorry.
No, well, my sons, I'm conscious of them sitting. They sit for hours, probably, like 12 hours a day some days. So I got them wooden chairs that are really slippery. And as soon as they start doing that, they just fall off. And their ass gets really sore after about 45 minutes, so they have to get up. So the more comfortable a chair, the more springy it is, the more you can lay back on it and turn it into a lounge chair. Even though it looks cool and it's ergonomic because it's sold that way, it may not be the best thing. I don't know. I just get as uncomfortable as possible and twist your body around, and that may shift you out of that crappy position that you fall into, which is the kind of loungy kind of vibe that which you can't. Your spinal muscles aren't meant to be holding you up for more than 30 minutes after a certain period of time. If you've been sitting for 3 hours, the muscles fatigue, the disc fatigues actually, the actual deeper structure. So I think you just got to get up. Move around, yeah, and take heed of that. Very much good advice.
Great question. Let's pass it over to Vishal. Does anyone else have a question, by the way? Because what we'll do is we'll hear from Vishal, then we'll go to Tracy, and then I like to keep this to an hour if we can. So your microphone, Michael, just behind you, brother. So I'd like to keep this to around about an hour if we can. Then after that, if you have any more questions, we'll have like about 10 minutes with the guys privately, so there'll be no cameras on. Then after that, we'll wrap the episode, and I'm sure you can have a chat to them afterwards. So that just give you a bit of a heads up on how we like to do it here. So Vishal, so on this, I think we've heard less from you at this point, so I'd love to hear from you again. On these 3 different areas, we spoke about integrative, mental health. I think you dealt with already, and whole health. What comes up for you? Again, great questions here. One from Tilisula, one from Michael, who's in crypto, which here in Bali, there's a lot of people who are in your same position, who are spending 16 hours a day on a computer. Right. By the way, we have a monthly panel called the Silicon Bali Project. So make sure you tune into that once a month, like we do Health Hub Bali once a month. We do that once a month. So if you're into crypto or blockchain specifically, make sure you check that one out. But Vishal, what comes up for you as maybe something that you like to draw light to, a way to empower people, a way to give people the option to take their own health in their own hands?
I guess what I tend to tell people who are a bit stuck is just get back to the fundamentals, get back to basics. And that rule can actually apply to anyone in any circumstance, whether it's relationship problems, health problems, anxiety, depression. Get back to, doing the first easiest step, the second easiest step, and then just repeat, get some consistency, and don't worry about the steps after that. Because often, if you look at, if you look at the mind and body as a whole, the only time that I guess you look at humanity actually looks at mind and body as a whole is in babies. So when a person becomes a parent, they look at sleep, they look at what they're feeding their child, they look at exercising their child, they look at all these mind-stimulating activities. And it's the first time ever that there's that continuity and there's that consistency in exposing your child or your baby to these things. And then suddenly it just gets lost. I'm not sure, it's at the age of 5 or 6, suddenly the parents are like, oh, we're done now. It's up to you, and then suddenly the sugar comes in and the screens come in and lack of communication, and no one's really that attentive in terms of how much sleep the child's getting, how much food, what nutritious food's in there. So that's getting back to the ultimate basics. So, if we treat ourselves as we were treated when we were babies, I reckon we'd probably have 50% better health. Good sleep, good food, exercise, and stimulating the mind in much more healthier ways. And it's pretty simple stuff. So often I try and guide people to the basics, forget about the complexity. And once we get to the basics, we get some clarity. And then that's when we can start focusing on problem solving, when a person feels like they've got some confidence and they've got some belief back in their own abilities and decision making, and then we move forward and tackle some of the more complex things. But I know there's a lady there that did have a question, so maybe you want to go to her.
Yeah. So we'll take this last question, then after that we'll come back to Tracy and begin to wrap this episode.
Such a comprehensive speaking tonight. It's been fabulous. Thank you so much. The thought just came to me about the nervous system. What I've seen here in Canggu at all of the yoga centers here, the most popular classes are yin classes where you sit down and you don't do anything, and restorative classes. That's what our hearts are calling for so much right now. It is blowing me away. Those classes are full, wall to wall. My question was, it's my impression that chiropractic is actually illegal in Bali and has been for many, many years. From Ubud, we had big stories with Dr. So I've heard that it's actually illegal to practice chiropractic in Bali.
Microphone first. And by the way, I love the way that you didn't mention that doctor's name. I think that's highly respectful. At the same time, just your pronunciation I think that was great. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, in the regulations, chiropractic is legal. Okay, but you have to go through a association, a medical association, and then you have to go through many, many steps for a long, long time to get registered. So it's not an easy path. It's a painful path, and every country has a different way to adopt it. So I'd like to see more universities running chiropractic schools so the Indonesian people can get more exposure to it. But unfortunately, at the moment, it's out on the fringe. So, yeah, you have to really look hard. There's 2 chiropractors maybe 3 in Bali, but there's probably 40 in Jakarta that I'm aware of. Yeah, it's just a lot of hoops to jump through. Yeah.
You know, Renee, I just want to thank you because you're here just about every week. I just want to acknowledge you for being an incredible person. I'm missing your Balinese husband tonight. If he's watching this, we miss you. Where are you? You should be here. But really, jokes aside, thank you for being you and always supportive to a lot of different people and projects here in Bali. Much respect. Thank you. Welcome. So now, look, we're going to begin to wrap this up. We've got the clinic detox program, Somatic Reset, which I think we may have covered. Or if we haven't, Tracy, I'll grab the microphone from Tanya. And if you can quickly cover those, then what we'll do, give you some time to think. So from each of our panelists, about 30 seconds, no time pressure. If there's something you'd like to leave people with, what would that be? All right? And we're going to come to you in about a minute or so, just with an idea of what that would be, okay? As a way to close, and we're finished with Tracy. So to you first.
I just want to cover that business with the chiro.
Just turn to me. Yeah.
With the chiro. As an entry point or part of the Health Hub journey, we do a lot of body work. It's not so much with chiropractors or Westerners, but we use each of the Balinese, all right? Or ones, especially from solo, we've got body workers. They work on connective tissue, lymphatics, trigger point. There's about 5 to 7 that every patient normally uses. I would say within all that, we'll find that in the chiropractic world. Health Hub's about bringing the science behind USADA and anything here in Indonesia. So I can see that future. Yes, we will have a version here that's quite potent and powerful. Getting back to the clinics and the detox programs, we just touched on that as an entry point for clearing, because detoxing the brain, the body, the tissue. There's ways that we do that, which we will share through future programs. But it's also about the clinics. We're inviting owners of clinics here in Bali in the future programs. I made reference to the fact that we are running pilots with them, and also the detox, because that's a big issue for the future.
Wonderful. So look, what we'll do as a way to close, remember that we're going to be here, like 10 minutes or so. If you want any questions that won't be on camera or recorded, you'll have the chance to do so. Then after that, have some time, maybe give these guys a break from the lights, right? And then feel free to have a chat to them if there's any other very private things you would like to speak about with them. So right now, we'll go to our panel, and maybe about 30 seconds or less each, if you can do that. Just something you'd like to leave with everyone here. It might be something that you've reiterated, that you've said already, that you feel the need to reinforce and say again. That's totally fine. Or it might be something else that perhaps you wanted to cover but didn't get the chance. So we'll start with you, and we'll just go in order. So, Brother Bishal, over to you, man.
Okay, 30 seconds. So, look, I just think I'll reiterate, see the body as a whole. If you have a negative thought, take some time to challenge it, sit with it, find out where it's come from, why it's here. You know, be a bit of a discoverer with your negative thought. Don't just let it sit there and fester away and create negative energy. Finally, I want to thank you all for coming and listening to us and the panel here. And so it's been a really lovely hour, I should say, and I'll pass the mic on.
The takeaway I'd like is just to back up Vish. Look in your body where your negative thoughts are being felt. Begin to correlate. If you're anxious, maybe is that what's causing your teeth grinding or your stomach clenching? Or if you're feeling that you've got back pain, where are your thoughts ruminating about that? So understand that your mental capacity and your physical body are linked, and often this is the beginning of you ending your prolonged tension and experiencing pain. So own your understanding of your mind and body. And again, thank you for listening to us, and I wish you all the best of health.
I just want to know who wants to live to 100 or, 120. Okay. So just have in mind how long you want to live for. When do you think you're going to make it to maybe your mother lived to a certain age? So have that number and then just think, how's that last 10 years look like for a lot of people? That it's horrible. They're suffering. That I watch elderly people just slowly just suffer for 10 years. It's usually about 10-year journey of just, like taking too much medication, just having no quality of life, like losing control of their bowel and bladder, wearing nappies. Like if we split it, I'm going to be very negative, okay? So if we split this room in half, okay, so let's say over this half, unfortunately, if we look at how people end up finishing up, 50% of people die of heart disease, coronary artery disease. So yeah, sorry. Okay, but unfortunately, 2/3 of you guys over here are going to die of cancer. Okay, so these things happen. They happened 40 years earlier. So the last 10 years suck. So we are seeing people that are adopting, a better lifestyle, and they're living to a ripe old age, and they have quality of life right up to the end. But it's such a small number, and I think that, that preventative health is really has to happen because it costs the government so much money. So many people sitting in nursing homes in Australia. Here, it's, the family takes care of grandma that's, having to go to the hospital every second day. So, I know you guys are young and you probably don't thinking about it now, but even at 30, it's going to suck for you if your energy drops and you start to develop anxiety because your energy's not quite there. You're getting cramps in your gut, and you carry that around for So these things can just start, like right at childhood, we can start to educate our kids. So I think it's a responsibility of all of us to learn some sort of way, a new way of health that's not feeding your kids sugar and giving them a Panadol to get them to go to sleep and things like that. And just showing them that they don't want to reach for a pill, or we want to be better examples and don't just have a glass of wine every night to knock ourselves out. Okay, so that's my very negative, sorry.
Michael, you've done very well, mate. You're not negative at all. You're realistic. You pass this to Tracy. So, Tracy, you've got about 2 minutes to think about what you're going to say, because I'd like to give Tracy a little bit more time, or she'll look at me like, what do you want me to say? So you got 2 minutes. So, look, as we begin to draw this to a close, my name is Robert Ian Bonnick, otherwise known as a tourism architect. So what I love doing is bringing projects together which bring the people of Indonesia, Bali, in Indonesia as a whole at large, together with foreigners on projects that unite and uplift humanity, right? And have a really powerful impact, one of which we spoke about telemedicine before. So one group which I just feel I want to bring up, it's called All Solar World. We had them on the show a few weeks ago. And it's amazing because, using out of a little box, there are 50 million remote communities in Indonesia without electricity and without access to internet. So through literally a box this size, solar panel comes through, Wi-Fi created, internet, and digital payment transaction platform, okay? So this connects millions of remote communities to telemedicine, education, fintech, and so on. Next week's show is an incredible guy, Marlo Benham, right? He's from Indonesia. Now, he is known, Tree, you might know him, Balinese. He is, let me get this right, he is the keeper of Bali's archives, right? Yes. So I've met, just like you, many people, including Oki, who's around here somewhere as well, and Ichi, Made, Janur, Plastic Exchange, who have taught me so much about Bali and why we love Bali. Like, if you don't know about Pancasila, you should. If you don't know about Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, you should. And then right here in Bali, if you don't know about Trihita Karana, pick it up and learn it, right? If you don't know about Takwa Masi, learn it, right? So next week, you should come. So Marlo, keeper of Bali's archives, I'm sure it's slightly different to what I've said, but I'm pretty close, is one of those people who knows so much about the reason that we love and we feel drawn to this wonderful island and Indonesia as a whole. And he's able to communicate that in such a powerful way that we're able to all be uplifted in his presence. So I really recommend, highly suggest next week you come in person, because this is the kind of guy, like these wonderful people here, that you're going to want to hang out with afterwards, right? To find out more. He's amazing. So make sure you come in or tune in, but I really suggest you come in to watch. And then as tonight is Health Hub Bali, it would be remiss of me to mention that every Tuesday, correct, Health Hub Bali, check it out on Instagram and website as well, so healthhubbali.com. So they're based in Predanan, Pantai Predanan, so just go to the Instagram, you'll find it. Tuesday Talks. Every Tuesday goes deeper into a lot of what we've been talking about. Again, with this, it's quite challenging because we don't want to leave people behind, but at the same time, we don't want to cover the basics that those who are a little bit more advanced kind of get bored and go home, right? So that Tuesday Talks is a great opportunity to tap in, go deep, learn, and be immersed more in this knowledge, which really Tracy has access to some of the best minds in this field in the world. So you really do get the latest of what's happening. Whew. That was supposed to be very short, but I can't help it. I just get carried away. So, Tracy, over to you. Maybe some words. You might be reiterating something that you want to leave people with. And then we'll close the show after that.
Yeah. So tonight was an example, like a taster of what we can offer as a collective here in Bali. And also anywhere in the world, basically, you hear the word somatics, movement, structure, and whole health is really a key word, connecting it. We're just talking basic, simple, common sense approach to well-being. And for here to get something connected on Tuesdays, like we said, we have fundamentals, the core, just an hour talk. It might be on inflammation, deficiencies, what immunity is, basics. But also that's at 11 o'clock. But in the morning, we've started now with having a doctor or doctors, they're integrative ones. If you have any questions, to come, and they can give you some guidance there on a Tuesday.
Huge thanks to Tropical
Yeah, thank
Nomad first, Brother Ichi over here,
Thank
Brother
you.
Guzman, Sister Ayu. Thank you very much for making us a technical partner, my best friend as well, making us look good, feel good, taste good, and hopefully look good and sound good. Sound a bit weird, didn't it? But whatever, you know what I mean. Thank you, Brother Michael. You're now, because this is like a baptism of fire, right? So now we're brothers and sisters, right? So Brother Michael, thank you. Sister Tanya, thank you. Brother Vishal, fresh off the... Welcome, my brother. Well done. And obviously, Tracy. Thank you to the studio audience for coming every week. And thank you to you at home for watching this. Make sure you come see it live. Some really great people. Great networking, if you want to call it that, but just some really good people. So thanks again, everybody. A round of applause. Thank you so much. Yeah.